For those who are interested in teaching their art in some way, and by teaching, I don't feel like a teacher. However, I have created, I think I'm close to 3,000 talks in the last 10 years. That's like talks that I've pre recorded or gone live, and also videos that I've recorded to teach people something. However, I still don't see myself as a teacher. And this is what I wanted to talk about today as an artist, as a creative, having this flexibility to move beyond the creating of the art and to, I like to think, create experiences for people. And so I've dabbled in this for the last 15 years. And in fact, I think that when I did my art degree, I came from a design background. My intention was to do my degree and go back to the design world where I was developing cushions, curtains, bedding for the purpose of selling in a commercial setting. And yeah, my idea was to go get my degree and then go back to that industry. And then once I'd done my fine art degree, which was amazing because that was like years and years of just self-discovery and finding myself and playing. So art school was having themes and playing and push-pulling and really developing work that's original and so deeply connected to who I am. It was like therapy. It was absolutely incredible. And that's in effect what we do inside our creative living platform. So we've just developed a program, a pathway called the Creative Way. And the Creative Way is just that. It's what you do at art school, basically, where you're kind of taking your ideas and you're push pulling them and then you turn them into an outcome, rather than just creating something. There's like work that comes before it that makes it much more intentional. And so once I'd kind of played with that and explored my voice and had all this work, I had like years and years of work, and it was like a visual diary. For me, I didn't ever have the dream of being in shows and selling. When I used to see my friends selling on market stalls or running like their own stand at a show, I like being there, but I don't want to be on the stand doing my own thing. And it just never appealed to me, but I love it. And I love going to shows. And my friend Sharon, she hosts a lot of shows. I love going with Sharon. So I love it, don't get me wrong, but it was never my calling. And this is the thing. There's never a right or wrong path to take. And I know, however, that being an artist and creating is at my core, and I will never stop making art. Never. Because it's part of me now. It's like I've unlocked this amazing tool to help me understand more about myself, to help me switch off my brain, to explore my visual side, this kind of thoughts and feelings and how I can transfer that in a visual way. So, but for me, it was all about community and bringing people together. That's always been my passion, and giving back. And I always found myself saying, I want to help other people. I want to help other people. And I started doing a course on counselling because I wasn't sure what that phrase meant. I want to help other people. And I did a teacher training course, quit. I did a counselling course, quit, and I kept doing all these things because I was searching for what that actually meant. And then I set up United Art Space and it all clicked into place. I was like, this is how I'm going to help people. So for me, it wasn't like I set up United Art Space because I want to make money and I want to run courses or events. It was literally born from a place of genuinely wanting to connect people. So for me at the beginning, that's what it was. I wanted to connect people. Now, this is what I find interesting and why I wanted to have this conversation, because quite often people can stop before they've even started because they think, who's going to pay to just feel connected? Who's going to pay to just feel this? And there is some truth in that. However, I think that if you're really passionate about something and you've got a itch or a desire to bring people together, to run something where you're not even teaching, you can start to question, but who's going to pay for that? How's that going to work? And even other people will start to say that to you. But Michelle, how will that work? How will you make money from that? You're going to waste your time. And then before you know it, you can talk yourself out of something. So I had a massive fixed belief. I'm not a teacher. I don't know how to help people. Da, 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 da. So I started from a place of genuinely wanting to give back and sharing how I was doing things rather than teaching, saying, I think you should do this. I think you should do that. I took a different angle and I still do this today. This is what I do. This is how I had this problem and I tackled it this way. And a lot of the time I will reference who I learned it from. I learnt this from Maria Brophy at the very beginning stages. I would say I learnt this from Beth Kempton. I learnt this from my mentor, Stu McLaren. I learnt this from Maria Brophy. I learnt this from whoever else I was learning from. And I would always credit them and share that I'm on this journey of discovery and this is what I know and what I've done. So I wasn't attempting to be the expert. I wasn't attempting to be I know it all and I think you should do this. It's authenticity. And so then what happened was I started to create a course called the 7 Keys. And it doesn't really say what it is, does it? The 7 Keys. It's still called the 7 Keys. And I started to create this course because what I started to see in artists was that a lot of people wanted to kind of learn how to use Instagram and how to do all these things. But I could see until you understand your voice and understand who you are as an artist and why your work matters and who it's for, they're the most important parts, because everything else starts to fall into place, I believe, after that. So I started to create this 7 Keys course and I'm just about to redo it. In fact, it's going through its 5th iteration. And for me, then what happened was as I started to teach that more and more, I did become an expert, because now I've got 10 years experience of teaching that course with nearly 10,000 people having gone through it. And it's been phenomenal. So I now have unbelievable experience, an incredible amount of testimonials and case studies. And I started out not being the expert, not having a clue what I was talking about. And so that's one example of how things can just absolutely change. But the other thing I wanted to say on the back of this is to take that pressure off the teaching element. Like that's a big transformation I was helping people with. And I like to think of it as creating experiences. So it takes the pressure off me. So I want to create an experience for someone, and I get really clear on who that someone is. And I'm going through this right now as I'm redefining my 7 Keys course, and I'm redefining the creative living platform that we have. So my 7 Keys course is going to be rewritten with a person in mind, and I'm redoing the creative living based on a particular person and what is the experience I want them to have, what's the customer journey, where am I taking them from and to. And I love that thought process, because then that helps me curate the experience. Someone was asking me yesterday, what platform should I use? And I said, well, what's the experience you want them to have? Because that's the most important bit. Choosing a platform depends on the experience you want them to have. I chose membership.io for my creative living platform because of the experience, because of how it's laid out, because of what functionality is in there. And so that is really important to think about the experience. Now, then that can put pressure on people, because you start to think that you've got to have all these bells and whistles and it's got to be amazing. So I'm much further in my journey where we've got money, resources, team so we can build these platforms. When I started out, we didn't have that. It was just me doing it by myself. So I kept it really basic and really simple, and it was just on a free platform, and I delivered the content just like here it is in a PDF. And I think you can still do that today when you're getting started. And one last thing I wanted to share on this is that the experience doesn't have to be like a massive big A to B journey where they're like climbing a mountain and you're getting them over the mountain and down the other side. The journey can be the first step towards the mountain. And I was explaining this on a call yesterday, that experience could be something like connecting people who don't feel connected. So I'm doing this now. I've got a second business that I've just set up, and it's going to be local, very, very small key, low numbers to start with. Probably just like 10 people, get them in a room, 10 people who want to get off their phones and just create together. And that's what it is. That I'm not teaching anything, is creating an experience for people. And you can start something like that around your kitchen table with friends and family. So thinking about that in terms of if you wanted to teach, create an experience, that could be a retreat, it could be making together, it could be an event outside, it might be something online. And it's getting the ball rolling in that. And the way I start is I think about, what is it I love? What is it I love to talk about? What is it that I love to do? Now, in some settings, I like to take people from A to B and teach something, and I like to do that online. But when I'm in person, I don't want that. And when it's in a creative setting, I don't want that either. I like to be immersed in the experience myself. I don't want to be stood at the front doing like, this is how you do this next. I want to be in the room, and I want to be on the level with the people I'm with, on the ground doing it. And I want it to be a much more fluid experience. So that's good, because I know that now. That's how I am. Someone else might be like, I don't want that. I want to be at the front, and I want to be in control, and I want everyone to follow a process, and that's fine. So it's understanding what you want and what setting you want to be in. Do you want to be outside? Do you want to be inside? Do you want to be online? Do you want to be in another country? This is what I'm asking myself right now. Next year, I'm going to do some in different countries, because I feel that's what I'm feeling called. So it's about that part first, I believe, comes first. Like, what is it I'm really good at? What is it I'm good at? What is it I love? And I start to mind map those parts. And like I said, setting up United Art Space came from, I want to be around creatives, I want to help people, and I want it to be online because I want it to work around my children. I want freedom. That's all I knew. And I started that, and it grew and grew and grew. And then the other part of it is, right, this is what I love, this is what I want to talk about, this is what I believe in. And then it's who is this for? You know, that's a big part of it. Is there anybody out there that wants this? You know, that's the next step, is you know, either finding the people that are ready for that, or you have to then work on the benefit of this. So for me, creating something where they're not going to learn anything, what's the benefit? What's the point? So I'm working on that. You know, the point is, you're going to get off your phone, you're going to be in the room with people, you'll be doing the work that you've been putting off for ages, you'll be connected to people, you're going to make friends. That's the point. So it's like, what's the point? And then finding those people. And this is what I'm going to talk about over the next few weeks. So we've set up a platform, Teach Your Art platform, where I'm talking on this topic. And on the 13th of July, I'm going to share my framework that I follow, and I have followed for 15 years now, of creating in-person workshops, retreats, on-stage events, online memberships, courses, experiences, webinars. And I use the same format of going from idea to income. And I'm going to take you through my process behind the scenes of how I do that. And I've got other live sessions happening in between where we're kind of just having an open conversation, and I'm going to be answering lots of your questions. So if you'd like to sign up and take part, the link will be below. And it's a topic I love because this has changed my life. Setting up United Art Space, giving back to people has literally changed my life. It's changed me. And it all came from just having a thought of helping others in the beginning. And I am still able to create art on my own terms and be a creative alongside that too. And it shapes everything. My own art shapes everything. So yeah, it's great. It's incredible. So that's it for now. I'm going to leave it there, and I will be back next week. And I'm live next Monday. If you want to join us, tap the link below, sign up, and we'll send you an invite link, and we can actually talk together about this topic. Take care. Bye bye.